Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. I'm gonna start a new series now of dupes for the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. I recently picked up this palette and immediately decided to get some dupes for it. I think it's an absolutely beautiful but quite expensive palette, so it's worth having a look around on the market to see what else is out there. This is how the palette looks like. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. This is my third palette from Huda. As you guys know, I already have the New Nude and the Mercury Retrograde palettes. I actually purchased this one before the Mercury Retrograde, but I just didn't have time to start using it and showing you the dupes I have because I was overwhelmed with all of the new eyeshadow palettes coming out in October, November, so I had to put a pause on this project. But here we are, starting it out. I have 4 dupes for this palette. Obviously, if I find any more, I'm gonna add it to the list later on. But for now, I'm gonna show you these 4 in order of expectations. So based on my experience, I expect the least from today's eyeshadow palette, and the palette that I will show you the 4th time is the one that I think is going to be a bomb and is going to be better than the original. But again, I might be wrong. These are just my expectations based on my experience with those brands so far. So today's dupe is going to be the Beauty Glazed I Got You Edition palette. Obviously, this packaging looks very similar to Huda's packaging because they both show a pair of eyes wearing a shiny purple eyeshadow that actually reflects when you turn the palette. But the issue is that this is only the outer packaging on the Beauty Glazed palette. Once you remove it, you have a quite boring looking palette inside. When you're looking for this palette online, you're better off looking for Beauty Glazed textured palette because it's more likely to come up that way. I don't know why, but when you're searching on Amazon and eBay for one of these Chinese eyeshadow palette dupes, they don't really tend to come up with the actual name. They're more likely to come up with some completely different name. You're better off just looking at the pictures and trying to pick it up based on that. It will require some research, but you're more likely to find a cheap option like that. If you're looking for the name and the name of the eyeshadow palette, you're more likely to find expensive ones. I have no idea why that is the case. As you can see, my 2 eyes look completely different today. Not necessarily better or worse, but the colors are just completely different. That is so far on par with my expectations of this palette not being the best dupe out there. For the New Nude palette, they also didn't have the best dupe available on the market. But because it is an option, and it is an option you might be considering, I decided to add it to this video series. These Beauty Glazed dupes are definitely not the cheapest ones out there. You can probably pick it up on Amazon around 8 to 10 pounds. And as it comes from China, it will take for a while till you receive it. Something very positive to mention though is that it's cruelty free. It has 24 months shelf life. They have a batch code on the palette, and they have manufacturing and expiry date on the palette. So I think that's absolutely amazing. Even some of the expensive palettes don't have that much information. The Huda Beauty palette has 12 months shelf life, which is only half of what the Beauty Glazed palette has, and it retails for £56, which is at least 5 or 6 times more than the Beauty Glazed palette does. The Huda Beauty palette has 25.2 grams of product, which is quite a lot. On the other hand, the Beauty Glazed palette has only 18 grams of product. What I really like about Huda is how she adds all the different textures to her eyeshadows. You have some matte shades, you have pressed pearls, you have pure glitters, you also have 3 duochrome toppers. Now, duochrome toppers are my least favorite things on the world right after pure glitters, so unfortunately those shades are not really my favorites, and the 3 topper shades are exactly the ones that are supposed to be the most interesting in this palette, which are Celestial, Twilight and Retrograde. So they're all supposed to be these beautiful duochrome colors. You look at the palette, you're drawn to them, and then when you try to apply them on your eyes, is the biggest disappointment ever. In the Beauty Glazed palette, as you can see, the colors are in exactly the same order. Some of them even have the same names. The options for textures are a bit more limited here because obviously you don't really get any duochrome shades, but at least you don't get any toppers either. So the shades that are toppers in the Desert Dusk palette perform a lot better here because obviously they are not toppers anymore, they're actual shimmery shades, and I think that's quite good. You do get a pure glitter shade which again performs surprisingly well. I'm gonna go on and include now some swatches for you. As you can see on the arm swatches, the shades look almost exactly the same as they do in the Desert Dusk palette, which gives you the feeling that you're gonna be able to create the same eye makeup looks using this palette, which when you look at my eyes is obviously not the case. The shades have quite different undertones to them, and they all suffer from the same issue that's quite typical for drugstore and more affordable palettes, which is that you apply a darker shade and as soon as you start blending it out, it blends away into nothing. And I also noticed that I was getting a ton of fallout from this Beauty Glazed palette. So I don't think this is going to be your best option. You might want to wait a little bit and check out my future uploads where I'm going to be showing you the other dupes I have for this Desert Dusk palette, which I have a feeling that are going to be better. Nevertheless, if you already have this dupe, I don't feel like you're missing out on the original Desert Dusk palette. Whilst the colors are gorgeous, it's not worth £56, although for me quite a lot of things are not worth £56. For me, an eyeshadow palette needs to be really good to be worth so much money. Otherwise, I feel like the makeup we created looks fair enough. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Since I applied it, which has been about an hour or 1.5 at this point, I don't feel like it started fading or coming off or anything like that. So I'm quite happy with the way it looks, but it does require a lot more work than the Desert Dusk palette does. Once again, that doesn't mean I'm trying to encourage you to go and grab the original one, because I have some really good dupes coming up, but I don't want to spoil it for you yet. So for now, let's check out how this eyeshadow palette performs, and you can let me know in the comments down below what do you think about this eyeshadow palette. And what do you think about the Beauty Glazed dupe? Do you have any of them? Do you have any other dupes? Nevertheless, let's jump right into creating this eye makeup look, and I will tell you my final thoughts after that. Okay, so the idea for today's look came from this photo from Huda. So as you can see, she is using all of the purple shades from the palette, so that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna be using the Desert Dusk palette on this side of the face and the I Got You palette on this side of the face. I already primed my eyes, so I'm ready to jump right into application. However, because we're gonna be using dark colors, I'm already gonna add some shadow shields. So first, to make sure we're gonna be easily able to blend the darker shades, I'm gonna set the primer using the shade Desert Sand. This is just a really light shade to help you blend out other colors. On the Beauty Glazed side, this color is called Creamy. I think the Desert Dusk shade was a little bit more matte. This one has almost like a sateen finish to it. And now that that's done, we're gonna jump right into applying the darker colors. We're gonna be mixing two shades. First, we're gonna start out with the shade that we are trying to achieve, which is Amethyst, but I don't think this shade is gonna be dark enough, so I am planning on mixing it together with Saffron to kind of darken it up and make it look richer. So as I said before, first we're just starting with Amethyst, seeing how dark it gets, and then we can later add Saffron if necessary. Okay, so as you can see, even though I build this color up, it's not getting any darker than this. So now I'm gonna get a bit of saffron and see if that's gonna be enough to darken this up. And then I grab again a bit more of Amethyst, because obviously now this is looking too red. Yes, I definitely think that it's looking a lot darker now. As you can see, we have really sharp edges right now. So I'm gonna take the original brush, again a bit of desert sand, and blend out the edges of this. Okay, so now that we blended out the edges of the shade, obviously it got a lot lighter. I want to leave it like this for a moment because I want to start working on the other side as well. So conveniently enough, the shade Amethyst is also called Amethyst in this palette, and the shade Saffron is called Burgundy. In the pan, this purple shade looks a lot lighter, so this will definitely need a lot more help to get as dark as the other one. I also find that this has a lot more pink in it, meaning that it looks a lot more like a fuchsia shade instead of a dark bluish purple. Also on the Desert Dusk side, even though the shade itself was a lot darker and I worked with the shade for a long time, I had basically zero fallout, whilst on this side I already see fallout here and on my eyelid. Okay, so this color doesn't want to get any darker than that, so I'm gonna start applying some of Burgundy now. Let's see if Burgundy will help it get a bit darker. Yeah, this color has just as much fallout, if not more. I feel like this side looks like a dark pink compared to this. Anyways, I'm gonna repeat the same thing on this side. So I'm taking some of Creamy and blend out the edges of this shade. I feel like this is gonna blend away quite easily. Oh yes, look at that, it's almost completely gone. If I would keep blending it, the shade would just disappear. I want to take a little bit of out just to really darken up the crease area. And then take my blending brush again and blend out the edges. Alright, so that is a lot more like it. I'm quite happy with that now. The darkest shade in the Beauty Glazed palette is called Mud. So we're gonna take some of that now and see if that can help the situation. It's definitely a lot darker than the other shades were. The problem is that on this side almost everything blend away already, so I'm not sure what this can do for us. But it's definitely nice dark. I mean, it looks really similar to the other side. This is the first shade, well, a part of the very first one that you couldn't even see, so it's always really hard to comment on those skin colored shades because you can't really tell if it's there or not. But this is the first shade that actually looks similar to the original one. But I'm really unhappy with all the fallouts I get. That is really, really bad. I also feel like I have a lot less control over where the shade is going, which makes this eye look really, really badly done. Let me try to blend this out now. I mean, blending it is definitely really, really easy. As you can see, it almost completely blends away. I just took off my shadow shield because I felt like a lot of product built up on the Beauty Glazed side. As you can see, I do have some in both inner corners, but especially the Beauty Glazed side is really, really bad. Obviously, I'm gonna clean that up later, but for now, let's just move on with the eye makeup look. So the next thing we're gonna do is apply the shiny shade in the middle of it. The problem is, whilst I managed to leave some space empty for it on the Huda Beauty side, on the Beauty Glazed side with all of the fallouts, it basically covered up the lid area. So I'm gonna need to take some concealer now to create some space for the shimmery shade. So I'm gonna really quickly go off camera and do a cut crease and clean up under my eyes a little bit. Alright, so as you can see, I prepared the cut crease and I cleaned up under my eyes a little bit. I think it's looking a hell of a lot better now. So we're ready to apply the shimmery shade. And the shade we want to apply from the Desert Dusk palette is called Twilight. And it's this absolutely gorgeous duochrome shade. The only problem is that this is not the best color payoff. So first I'm gonna start applying it with my finger just to set the concealer, and then I'm gonna take some Inglot Duraline to intensify this shade and hopefully make it pop a lot more, and then we see how it's gonna look. So like I said, first I want to start applying it with my finger. Already on my finger it has more like a velvety finish, not really as shiny as it appeared to be in the palette. Okay, I don't think you can intensify it any more than this unless you get some help from another product. So as I said before, I'm gonna take some Inglot Duraline now and mix it in with some of the shade Twilight. I'm just gonna put a drop of this product on my brush. I feel like it helped it a little bit. It definitely made it a lot creamier, but it definitely doesn't look as good as I was hoping it to. It looks really duochrome in the palette and it doesn't look that duochrome on my eyes. Anyways, I'm gonna take some more of the shade Amethyst now and kind of clean up around this duochrome shade. Okay, I think that looks a lot better now. Now let's see what we can do for the Beauty Glazed side. So this shade is again called Twilight, but it does not appear to be duochrome to me. Regardless, we're gonna use this because this is the shade that's supposed to dupe the shade Twilight. So I'm gonna repeat the same thing. First I'm gonna apply it with my finger, see how that goes, and then add a little bit of Duraline to see if that helps. It's definitely a lot creamier and a lot more like an actual eyeshadow. The shade Twilight is like a topper shade. Yeah, I don't think we will need the Duraline on this side. It's actually quite shiny and opaque. It is not a duochrome shade though. Now again, we just need to kind of clean up around it. So I'm gonna try to take the shade Amethyst. I'm really scared that it's gonna fall on my face because it's been previously falling everywhere. As you can see, the two eyes are completely different. I don't think I can do anything to make them look more similar, simply because the shades that's supposed to dupe each other are just completely different. We're gonna move on to the under eyes now, where we're gonna simply add some of the shade Royal, which is, in my opinion, one of the best performing shades. In the Beauty Glazed palette, this color is called Violet. It's definitely not as creamy as the Huda Beauty version was, but the pigmentation is actually not bad. Okay, I'm gonna go off camera now. I'm gonna add some eyeliner, mascara, lipstick, and again I'm gonna clean up under my eyes because especially on the Beauty Glazed side, things are looking quite messy again. So I'm gonna finish my makeup and then I will be back with my final thoughts. So this is the finished look. To be honest, on camera they look a lot more different than they do in real life. I'm not saying that they look anything like each other in real life, but somehow they both appear to be a lot warmer in real life than they are on camera. The actual Huda Beauty side appears to be quite cool toned on camera. It is cool toned in real life as well, but that burgundy shade we added into it warms it up a little bit. The Beauty Glazed palette, it's not a bad palette. The makeup we created doesn't look bad at all. If I didn't have this palette and I just used this one on both of my eyes, I would probably be happy to leave the house like this. But like I said before, I had a lot of fallouts and not every single shade worked as well as they should. I honestly feel like what saved this look was the shade Mud, which is basically a dupe of the shade Oud. And that color was nice and dark and pigmented. Unfortunately, you can blend it away if you want to. So I honestly feel that there must be a better palette on the market for a good Desert Dusk dupe than this one is. So whilst this is it for today, I am gonna keep looking for better dupes. In the next Desert Dusk dupe video, we are gonna be testing out the W7 Dusk Till Dawn version, which is obviously W7's take on this palette. And I'm really excited to see if that one performs any better than this one does, because that is actually a cheaper price point. So that would be amazing if that one is better than this. If you guys liked this video and found it useful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. Ring the bell button so you're not gonna miss out any future uploads, and check out my previous videos because I have a lot of dupe videos like this from the past. Until next time, take care of yourself. I will see you very soon.